From stripper to children's book author is definitely
Yeah, that's definitely something. We chat with Channing Tatum about his new children's book. All right, Magic Mike's Quarantine Project, a kid's book inspired by his 7-year-old daughter, Evie. It's called The One and Only Sparkella, and Tatum talked about creating the book with our Barbara VanDenburgh.
I'm so excited to be able to talk to you about this children's book today, and I'm very excited that you wrote it, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for even reading it. I appreciate it a lot.
It's so charming, and I'm going to start with the most obvious question, which is, why a children's book? It caught my attention immediately when I saw your name, the word Sparkella, and the concept of a children's book. I was like, I need to read this immediately. So how did this happen?
Well, I mean, I have a daughter, 7 years old. She's about to be 8. And, I definitely never, ever planned on being an author, much less like a kid's book author. I think people knowing my history and the movies that I've made, I don't think kids books comes to mind when you think of me at all. But really and truly, like, it was, I kind of had a lot of fear around being a single dad. And that's kind of where it started. It started just simply just going, okay, like, how am I going to do this now? I have no idea what it's like to be a girl. And, I've been a kid, but I had a totally different upbringing than like Evie is going to have. I grew up in Mississippi and in Florida, running around the woods, like outside my house. Like, that is definitely, it's a little like, I mean, I'm out in Ojai right now, and my daughter's out here half the time, and so she gets to run around the woods, but still, it's very different. Growing up in California and LA, as I was just terrified. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I was not going to be able to maybe relate to her with, and like, so ultimately, I just started to kind of go into her world. If it was playing all the roles, if I got to play the prince, the evil witch, I had to play the dragon and all the roles except for whatever she was playing. If it was wearing makeup or tutus or boas or whatever, and just keeping the story going, it didn't matter. I just my lesson was just to go into her world, and the rest was really easy. And so that was kind of like, I think, number one, was just a lot of fear around that. And like, for example, like when I learned that I was going to have a girl, definitely had a panic, because I was like, I don't know how to do any of that. I don't have hair. I don't know how to braid hair. I literally went through YouTube immediately and learned how to braid hair. And because I was just like, to me in my head, that was something that a dad should probably learn how to do. Because I've always seen, you always, I don't know how to describe it. Like, when you take your kids to like school, who got them ready in the morning. If it, because their hair is a mess, or they're wearing different shoes or whatever. You're just like, and I think dads always get a bad rap, because I know some dads that are incredible. Like, so that's not always the case. And my daughter has like straight fine hair, and if I don't braid it every night before she goes to bed, she wakes up with a rat's nest that we have to now we have to wake up like an extra half hour early in the morning just to comb it out, because it's a whole thing. And so every night we have to do that. But other than that, I do remember, and it just stuck out so much in my head. Like, I remember the day, because my daughter would wear like all kind of these crazy things. She loved this one. It was kind of like a poncho sort of thing, but it was, if you held your arms straight out, you were like a slice of watermelon. And like, when you put them down, you were obviously just wearing like a cool, like, little cape sort of, like, I don't know, poncho thing. And she loved it. I don't even know where we got it. I don't remember buying it. And I remember she put it on, like, just like reflexively put it on, because it was one of her favorite things. And we were about to go to school, and I was like, all right, let's go, babe. And I saw her get panicked for the first time, and she was like, no, I don't want to wear this. I don't want to wear that. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? I was like, we got to go, babe. It's time. And she's like, no, I don't want to get made fun of. I don't want people to laugh at me. And I saw for the very first time my daughter like become self-conscious and kind of she wasn't as the free kind of just still free spirit that she usually was. It was from the very first moment where she was really thinking about how people were going to see her, what they were going to think of it, were they going to laugh at her, were they going to make fun of her, and I had never seen that happen before ever, and it was really like an arresting feeling, because I was just like, oh man, like it's happening. She's growing up, and like this is just the very first moment that I got to witness, and so it kind of started there, and that moment sort of stuck with me, and then I think when I became a single dad, I was like, all right, like this is an important moment, I think, and and I would watch some of the dads at school, and even some of the moms for that matter, not be able to play is like, they didn't seem to be free to play and connect with their children as much. And like, it's not that I was trying to teach them anything, but I just noticed that was how I was connecting with Evie, was through stories and playing make-believe and playing funny voices. And when we read the books, like I, put on funny voices and just be kind of wild and not care, wear makeup, let her paint your nails, like, sort of just a philosophy in a way, just to kind of just go into her world and see where she takes you. And that I think is really specific, because I think it'd be easier for a big guy, to wrestle and play with their a boy, a rough and tumble boy, and like, oh, we're gonna play war, or cowboys and Indians, or whatever it is, cops and robbers, and but how do you really play like princesses when you have to be a princess? And like, are you the man enough to be a princess, to put on the dress and to like do the thing? And not that you need to be a man or anything, but it was just a fun exploration for me. And then the really simple story of just like, when you're really, because I was afraid about how things would be, and that's kind of what one of the sort of lessons of the book is what do you do when you're afraid of how things will be, when you're nervous, and you just really, like, the best thing for me and for like what I try to teach Evie is just to be more her, whatever that is, just to be the most her that she can possibly be.
Well, and that's one of the things that I love about this book that struck me instantly about it, is that it really works on two levels. It's a message about being true to your authentic self, mm-hmm. not hiding who you are to fit in. And it feels like a lesson that's as important for the parent as it is for the child. Like, that's a lesson I'm still learning as an adult who's been here a while. Like, I'm still learning that lesson of being true to my authentic self and not being scared to be me in front of other people. So, I thought it was a really wise book and just a really well-structured book, because it works for the person reading it and for the person it's being read to.
That means a lot. Like, thank you. Because I noticed I noticed something very unique about Evie as well, is like that sometimes for her to learn, she needs to teach. And she really she enjoys being the one that is like kind of like teaching you the lesson. Or if you don't know how to do something, like I'm, taught her to read, because I was like, Evie, what's this word? I can't read it. And like, and then she'd be like, well, let's sound it out. And she becomes like the parent in a way. And it's, it's fun. And, and that to me is like, where we're going to also go with book two, is like, if book one is, if you're nervous about how things will be, what do you do? And then the second book is really when things are not going well, like in the present, what do you do? When things are literally, you had a plan and they're not going to plan, and like, what do you do? And the third book is probably going to be when things have just completely failed, like when they've completely failed and like everything is gone, like all is lost. What do you do?
When you have a plan and it doesn't come through, like, sounds really relevant during, after this past year of pandemic, after this year of COVID. What has it been like for you parenting during a pandemic like this? And I mean, did you work on this book during the pandemic? Was this when this book creatively came about, or did it start beforehand?
I think the loose sort of outline of the book was probably done a little bit before the pandemic, but we definitely put it all together and fine-tuned it and sort of figured out the art and really finished it in the pandemic, I think. And then wrote the second one definitely in the pandemic, or just kind of, it was sort of pieced together a little bit towards the end of this last the last shutdown, like over the holidays. And then now we're kind of just sort of knocking the rough edges off of it and like kind of making the structure work kind of as good as the first one. And it's this one's actually gonna be really fun. I think we're gonna go into a little bit more of I don't know what to call it, like a little bit more of a fantasy world in a way, like, because it magical realism, I would say, and dealing inside of like a child's mind, and then the practicality of reality, and like how I remember when I was trying to build, me and my daughter were in quarantine, and she wanted to build a birdhouse, and I was like, okay, well, where do you want to start? Let's go. And she's like, well, we need wood. And I was like, okay, let's get wood, and she went over to like the firewood, like pile. And I was like, that's not the wood she's like, yeah, let's just get this wood and we can nail it together. And there's a giant chunks of firewood. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try it, and then as we're trying to do it, I had to let her figure it out that it wasn't going to work. And she got really disappointed because it was like, this is not how I planned it. This is not how I designed it. It's not how I saw it. Because I was like, all right, well, what about we use this wood over here and these nails? And she's like, no, the nails are ugly. The nails are ugly. I don't want to use the nails. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, I want to use the sparkle glitter. And I'm like, okay, but it's not going to hold. Like and then it was really a fun sort of navigation through like the way in which she dreamed it in her fantasy, and then what it turned out to be in reality. And it actually turned out incredible, but we had to like kind of meet somewhere in the middle. And that was kind of the whole premise of the second book, but just on a little larger scale. Yeah, the pandemic was, I felt really guilty because I have a farm in Ojai, outside of Los Angeles. So really early in the pandemic, I just came out here with Evie, and I felt really bad, like, because we were living a great life. Like we could be outside. We were riding dirt bikes all day, riding horses and things. And it was, I mean, I know a lot of my friends were struggling, and like it was, and the world at large was struggling, and people were dying, but I was sort of really living a beautiful life. And like I was just, I still feel guilty about it, because I mean it's beautiful here even today, but I think that was the point in a way. A lot of people learn certain things about themselves. I've always been a little bit of an introvert, and so it kind of worked well for me. I was like, I'm loving this. Like I'd already taken time off. I take about 4 years off from even acting. Like I was just sort of like, I need to sort of reevaluate things and kind of revamp and recenter and figure out what I wanted to do. And then we were gearing up to direct our first movie, me and my creative partner Reed, and that's when the pandemic happened. And sort of so it kind of reframed things for us. And like every day I just sort of looked around and found even like a smaller thing and got more sort of microscopic about what I was grateful for. Like it was, a pretty big moment in history, I think, for everyone to kind of, hopefully they got to have some sort of positive lesson and not just like, I hate this. Because it was tough. I mean, I loved Evie being home. Like I've always kind of wanted to just homeschool her and like get to be in and around. Like she's doing, we go to like a brilliant little school that was really nimble in the way that they were teaching online and things. And I think Evie's done really well, as far as she does it all herself. She knows how to turn on the computer, like does the things, work the apps. And I'm just like, man, I couldn't have done this when I was in grade. I was like, are you kidding me?
Raising a very smart little girl. I like it.
Yeah, she is a willful little killer, man. She's not one to be trifled with. She's gonna run the world someday or something. I don't know what.
So, I mean, obviously, you've always been a very creative person. You've always been an artist and a creator and a writer and a producer, and you've always been very creative. And I'm wondering if being a father to Evie and exercising your imagination in this new way with her. You know, you talked about how you love to play with her and create stories with her. Has being her father made you a more creative, more imaginative person?
Yeah, I've said this like to all my friends. I've done my best creative work with my daughter than I have in any of my actual like endeavors movie wise, like or anything creatively that I've done. I've worked harder and like it is because it's a different kind of creativity. Like I don't know how to describe it to you. It's exhausting because you have to be there and present with them, like you know, going to work and just having lines and things like that. That's almost like a vacation because it's somehow it's constructed. You have take two, you have take three. You can like go, oh, I didn't like the way I did this. I can do it different. Well, with a kid, you don't get take two. Like you are, it is in the moment at all times, live, like, and in living color right in front of you.
And they know when you're faking it. Like when you're not 100% in, they know, they get upset. You have to be committed.
No, it's totally true. Like if I'm tired and I'm like, I remember we had to like ban this one game because she just liked to be the damsel, like Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping, so she would just play sleep, and I had to play like 15 other characters. And I was like, Ev, I'm not doing this one today. Like, and then she's like, why? It's my favorite one. I was like, yeah, because you just sleep the whole time. I passed out. I want to let me play Sleeping Beauty. You play all the 15 other characters. And so we had to eventually like kind of ban that one from the repertoire of things that we were going to do, because it is and then you have to, after you're done playing them and you get to the end of the story, she's like, let's go again. And you're like, I can't keep this one up. I'm exhausted. And yes, but you're fully right. They know when you're not 100% in there, and like they want it to be new and different every single time. And I only wish that there was a camera on to see some of my best performances guaranteed are with Evie for sure.
One of the things I actually, even when I don't have a kid with me, I love reading children's books.
Cool.
I do. And part of it is because I love the artwork. Like I get books with pictures, and I really love the pictures in this book. There are some really lovely illustrations, and I'm wondering how you found the artist to work with, what it was like working with an artist to bring your book to life. Like she's bringing these characters to vivid life, and what was that creative collaboration like?
Kim was great. Like she just sort of, publishing house like gives you like, 3 to 4 like sort of different art styles to go from. And she was just the one. I was just like, no, this is it. Like the whole vibe is right. And what I think she does really kind of smart in a way. And it was we're making some certain Sparkella stuff like jackets and like fun, because Sparkella is such a designer. She creates a lot, and my daughter creates a lot. And when we were working with some of these companies that they were taking the art from the book and they were making all this stuff that felt really like pink and like very like, and I was like, guys, really look at the art. Like, yes, the book in itself is very girly-ish, like in a kind of a like sort of a very bright pink way. But if you really look at Sparkella, she's more Punky Brewster. She's more like, she's Pippi Longstocking. Like she's wearing, black and white striped like finger gloves, and she's wearing leopard high tops, and she's a little punk rock. Like she's not just like Pinkalicious. Pinkalicious is her own thing, and that's not her. She wants to be different and shine in her own way and not just wear pink. And then once we made that note, like all the art changed in the stuff that we're creating in like the merch department. And it was really, Kim just nailed it. Like she was just like, oh, I get who this is. I know who this is, because my daughter wears the craziest stuff. I have like a file on my phone that I'm just like, I don't know where she came up with this, but like she'll have the craziest outfit on and somehow pull it off. Like she I think for a whole year she did a side pony. Like, it was just like, it's my signature style. And it was just sticking off the side of her head. And I just kind of took little inspirations from Evie, and then kind of made this other character, and yeah.
Oh, do you guys have, well, first of all, what was Evie's reaction when she saw the finished copy of the book and you went through it with her?
Freaked out. Because we do like, you're a glitter poop. No, I'm not a glitter poop. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, we do that. Like, that's in our actual lives every day. She calls me a poopy snail, and she's a glitter poop. So it's, I don't know why I'm the snail and she's like a fairy always, and like I'm a poop snail. And then what was the other part of that question?
Oh, just what her reaction was like,
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, and we do Tiny Dance Party. We do all those, like, prime time, let's go, like, because it's shine time, and we kind of do a version of that in our whole, Glimmeria. We've had 50 versions of Glimmeria. Like, we create our own little worlds all over the place, and it was really fun to watch her eyes like sort of go, they put the glitter poop in, like, look at it, and yeah, so it just felt great. It feels really good. I did a little children's animated movie, Smallfoot, and she's just like, when are you going to do another Smallfoot again? And like, so, I don't have an animated movie or anything that she can watch, and so this was it felt really good to kind of.
I was going to ask, like, it doesn't seem like she would have seen or regularly watch many of your movies. They're a little, they're a little older than she is right now. And so it must be really exciting for you to get to share something that you created with her that she's the right age for,
Yeah, fully. I mean, most of the movies that I've done, she'll probably see hopefully way later in her life. Yeah, getting to like kind of let her in on like how I spend my time, in creating, and I love Evie to get to actually see an idea of something. Mm-hmm. Like, all right, I have this idea, Ev, and like telling her about the idea, and then taking her through the stages of, making a book. And then, and as we're designing like the sort of these little like Sparkella inspired, like, a jacket or a backpack or whatever, she really tells me what she likes and what she doesn't like. I'm like, Ed, what do you think about the pink backpack? And she's like, I don't like the pink. I think it should be like sequins or whatever. And getting to watch her see an entire project like through, mm-hmm. and the final product, so that she understands how long it takes to make something good and to make so it's not just like these like instant, everything is today so instant and so quick, even we're really working on, we do this thing called Night Ninja, where every once in a while we'll put her to bed, and after I put her to bed, I'll sneak in there. I'll be like, all right, it's Night Ninja time. And she doesn't know ever when we're going to sneak out essentially and go to the barn and do art. But we have this like big canvas sort of tarp that I put up, and we basically paint on it and do all this crazy stuff. And it's like a long project, where I think art now for kids is just sort of like, draw something in like 20 minutes and then that's it, it's done. Mm-hmm. And but long projects where you can really like plan them and like kind of see a vision and then see it through is kind of what we're working on right now.
If I could ask kind of a personal question as I wrap this up, I'm wondering if there are any dads that as you've been raising Evie and trying so hard to be such a good father, if there are any fathers that you look up to, either in real life, other celebrity fathers that you feel like are doing a good job, fictional dads, just people who inspire you to be the best dad possible.
I watch Ryan Reynolds and actually Jason Momoa. Jason's like, and Chris, they're all like sort of my contemporary sort of like buddies. We're all making movies and we all have kids around the same age. Like, I know Ryan's got 2 girls, and then Jason Momoa, he's got these 2 like wild children that they're all always like, outside and rock climbing and doing all this like really cool stuff. And I think that, just watching Chris, Helmsworth, like, basically do the same thing. He's just bringing them into his world and he's going into theirs. And, he's not afraid to like, wear the tutu or do whatever, just because he's he's just, I don't know. I'm fans of those guys. I'm fans of them, of their work, but also like they're just they're big-hearted guys, and like I don't know, I admire that, and I admire when even Pratt as well. Pratt, like, I mean, they're all sort of guys that I've got to hang out with, and they're just people that really are who they seem to be. They're not like putting this image forward and then like behind the scenes like this other person. Like they're really living truthfully, and from my perspective of the time that I've got to spend with them. And I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm in admiration of that.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today Entertainment to stay up to date on all of the latest celebrity news.